Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Liftoff. We're joined by a very special guest, the wonderful Kelley Skar. Kelley, thank you so much for joining us. I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm going to let you do the honors of introducing yourself and sharing with some of our people who you are and what your involvement is in real estate.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy to be here. Happy to be on the Liftoff podcast. I'm just so dang proud of you guys for getting this thing launched and rocking and rolling and working to impact lives, man. This is really honored to be on your guys' show. Yeah, quick intro to me. I've been in real estate for 17 years. I started my 18th year in August. Started as a solo agent. Within about 5 years, I started building a team. Built that team, ran it very successfully, did that for about 3 years. I merged my team with a boutique brokerage in Calgary, Alberta. We ran as a team-based brokerage for the first year and then transitioned into a more traditional type brokerage. The goal was obviously to grow the company and go out and recruit agents. And we did that. And we grew from 9 to 115 agents in just over 18 months. Explosive growth around certain strategies that we had deployed, essentially following the whole Gary V mindset of creating a media company. And that's pretty much what we did. And it's funny, Gary Vee started talking about this kind of thing like 15 years ago. And it seems that you got the likes of Hormozy and Dan Martell, and you've got some other people that are doing some really amazing things when creating media. They're just following the blueprint that Gary Vee laid out there, like for the last 15 years or so. Wound up becoming, exiting that company, became solo agent again, and started diving headfirst into coaching. I had been coaching my team agents, my brokerage agents, for a number of years, and officially jumped in with a company in 2008, started to build a company inside of EXP. I was one of the 10 founding coaches inside of that company, and then eventually wound up leaving that company, that ecosystem altogether, and joining RE/MAX. And now here we are building the same sort of thing inside of the RE/MAX network, building a coaching company to help service our brokers first and eventually get down to our agents as well.
Yeah, and that's how we met. And I'd seen some Ben and some others at R4, and I reached out and we had a conversation. And what I've loved about our meetings is that when we get together, it's a no BS meeting. You hold me accountable to what I'm doing, and it's fire hose, dude. It's like laying it on me. And it's things like this podcast that Derek and I have talked about for 2 or 3 years that didn't come into fruition except for the prodding by you for us to get this done. And now we've done a few episodes, and we're going to get more regular at it. And It's things like this that really make a difference. Little incremental changes in what we do, and it really moves the bar. And I see some agents that start to embrace tools such as these, and they're really having some good results. So I'd like to just throw it back at you, Kelley, and talk a little bit about that. You've obviously exemplified your ability to grow things, taking an office from 9 to 115 agents in 18 months.
Yeah.
You've also worked with agents and allowed them to, you're real good about, like I said, systems and tech and having intentionality. You talk about your 5 daily non-negotiables. It's all very important, real well thought out, and you're holistic. You talk about starting your day early and holding yourself accountable to getting your exercise done and all those things that lead to success in all parts of your life.
Yeah, I'll jump in again. Yeah, I think it all starts with accountability. I don't care if you're an agent, you're a broker, you're a manager, you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. You've got to be able to hold yourself to a certain standard, a higher level. And the way that I've been able to do that over the last 75 days or so is by really, really committing to creating the habits that were needed in my life. I actually had a guy reach out to me, Dustin Peterson. He's a beast of a man, this guy. He's a personal trainer. I know him. He's in my mastermind group that I'm in every Monday. And he's also part of our coaching group that I'm in on every Wednesday and Thursday. And one of the things that he had actually asked me, he's like, what's the goal? Like I posted a story today on my Instagram and it was just me just doing like leg extensions. It's part of the whole thing, like my whole posting strategy. I want to talk about the stuff that I'm reading. I want to post things. I'm reading like 3 books right now. And so I post certain passages from the book, and I'll do that first thing in the morning. And then I'll post something from the gym, and then maybe something spiritual. And then I'll shoot a quick video and put that up to my story. And there's a system and a way of the way that I do things. Dustin reached out to me off of that one story of me doing the leg extension. And he's like, him and I have been going back and forth. And he's like, I forgot to ask you what the goal was. I really want to help you. I think that I can help you. I can help you accomplish the goals that you put out for yourself, but I never actually asked you what your goal was. And my response back to him was, I haven't been able to create this habit successfully in my life up until this point. The last 75 days have really shown me that if I commit to creating, the habit just naturally comes. And then not naturally, but it comes through hard work. And ultimately, this now is just part of my life. I posted this the other day. My rest days at the gym, specifically, my rest days are cardio and core. Like, I'm never not moving. I have to continually move now. Like, I've set the standard for myself. So the big question, I think, that every agent, entrepreneur, manager, broker, recruiter, the question that you have to have for yourself is what truly are the standards that you're going to hold yourself accountable to? What are the standards that you're going to live by? I put this into an email that I send out every Friday, and I said this in the email. What standard do you hold yourself to? Because the standards that you hold yourself to wind up attracting the people into your life. And ultimately, a little bit of a take on the Jim Rohn quote of, you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. You are actually the sum of the 5 people that influence you the most. So if you hold yourself to a super high standard, you're going to attract those people into your life, and therefore those people that are going to influence you, and you're going to have an opportunity to influence them. So that's where ultimately the 5 daily non-negotiables becomes super important.
Can you share your 5 daily non-negotiables?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like your audience would get something from this? I've got something that I can give to them. Do you think your audience you think they would appreciate this framework?
Sure.
If I had them just reach out to me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Kelley Skar, and then just reach out and DM me, what I'll do is I'll send them the framework around the 5 daily non-negotiables. I'll cover them off here really quickly so that people know exactly what it is that they're doing and what they're actually going to get in return.
Yeah, add Kelley Skar with an EY, Kelley EY.
Yeah,
Skar.
KELEYSKAR. And so
And we'll link it in the notes as well. So
Great.
yeah, okay, cool. And so it's not going to a landing page. I'm not going to be asking for email addresses. It's just you come and you follow me on Instagram, and then you DM me this keyword, 5 DNNs. If they DM me 5 DNNs, I will send them the framework around the 5 daily non-negotiables. And so here they are, in no real particular order. Number 1, I read 10 pages of a book every single day. Like I said, I'm reading 3 different books right now. So reading 10 pages of a book, super important because I want to increase my knowledge. Number 2, I work out for at least 45 minutes every single day. I've got to have movement. I've been doing this now consistently for about 74 days in a row, either in the gym, hiking, going for a walk. I'm moving 45 minutes. I'm getting a sweat on. Number 3, I'm reviewing the goals that I've set out for myself daily. Now, what I've done is I've taken my goals and I've written them out in the Notes app on my phone, and then I screenshot the Notes app. That is now my wallpaper. And the reason I did that is because I look at my phone probably 200 freaking times a day. And so I'm looking at my phone too. And so what it's doing is just planting those goals into my subconscious, right? The third thing is where I'm focused on building a brand, and that is to post at least 3 times daily. So I'm posting 3 videos, I'm posting a reel, I'm posting a post, I'm posting stories, like whatever it is. And by the way, I'm all in on Instagram. This is where I'm going to build my brand, build my business, and show people how to do this exact same thing. That's the fourth thing. The last thing is 5 opens. And this is, again, really relevant, regardless of whether you're in sales, if you're running and operating a brokerage, if you're an entrepreneur, I don't really care. You need to build your network, because we've heard this before, your network is your net worth, right? We need to reach out to at least 5 people every single day. Now, when I talk to real estate agents about this specifically, they're like, okay, so when do I get a day off? I'm like, you don't. It's 365 days. You're reaching out to, so then they do the math and they're like, I don't know 1,680 people. How am I going to do that? And so how many people do you have across your social media channels? Do you have at least 1,000? Maybe you have at least 500. Maybe you only have 300. I don't really care. You have an opportunity to reach out to as many people as you possibly can and have conversations with them. Now, obviously, if people are following you, and there's a whole sell by chat opportunity and rabbit hole that we could certainly jump into, but if you're posting on a consistent basis and you have people that are following you or friending you up, or they're commenting on your posts or your stories, or they're actually viewing your stories, those are all opportunities to be able to reach out to people. Have those conversations. Build your network.
I agree. I think that's an incredibly important aspect of one's business. I think it's no secret that social media is an essential to an agent's business, but I think that a lot of the pitfall that I see agents end up succumbing to is that they follow the more traditional cookie cutter. I'll post like my just listed, and it'll just, you look at their feed and it's not engaging. It doesn't read person. It doesn't give me a sense of this is an actual human being that I can build rapport, build trust with. So for somebody who maybe is trying to, I don't know, dip their toes in the water of social media beyond just, oh, I know I need to get to that someday, where would you tell them to begin?
So first and foremost, the MLS is there for a reason. It is there for your listings. That is where the vast majority of the eyeballs are going to be, is looking at the MLS. I have this argument with brokers all the time. They're like, I've got 2,400 people on my Instagram. I'm like, great. What do you mean? Are they realtors? Are they consumers? The vast majority of them are realtors. I'm like, okay, great. Then why are you posting properties that are sitting on the MLS? Well, because my agents expect it. Why do they expect that? Because they don't have an IG of their own. Do you think maybe you should encourage them to actually put a profile together and then show them how to use it? And if you don't know how to do that, maybe find somebody that can. Like, that would be far more valuable than just posting their listings that are already on the MLS and the internet anyways onto your platform that is frequented by a bunch of realtors. Like, the whole concept, the strategy just doesn't make sense. So first and foremost, you have to have the profile. Second, I'd be looking at learning as much as you possibly can before you start posting anything. Attend webinars. I was just on a webinar this morning. Jimmy Mackin put this webinar together. Jason Pantano was on it. They were talking about Instagram, all of these amazing profiles, these amazing agents that were doing just awesome things to utilize Instagram as a lead generation tool just by posting content up. And so what these people were doing was they weren't posting their listings, like they weren't posting an MLS listing and just swiping through a bunch of photos. They were showcasing their community and showcasing some of the properties within the community, and all by shooting off of their phone, off of their device. And then they had certain keywords that they were putting into the description. There was a call to action. If they're in a certain community and there's a property in the community and they're showcasing it, they're like, they don't put the price in there. They don't put the neighborhood in there. The next thing, people are commenting, where is this? What price point is this in? They have a strong call to action in the description. They say, if you have a question, leave me a house emoji. So then they can scroll through and they see the house emoji and boom, they start answering questions. So these are people that are all potential leads. They're people that are potentially looking at making a move to that area or that style of property. So I think that agents need to be creative. There's another way to go with this, and it's definitely comedy. I don't know if you guys saw this viral video. This is just making the rounds now. It happened. This guy posted this video up, I think a week or so ago, but it's this guy. He's a real estate agent in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He's in a cyber truck. Okay. He gets out of this thing and he's wearing this suit that's like too small for him. Like he looks like a midget. Like he does not look like, he just looked very chachi. He looked like he was like that ultimate slick sales guy sort of thing, right? So he comes out and they're doing all these crazy angles with the camera, and then he gets into the truck and he's, see my cyber truck, see my Rolex, I'm your luxury realtor in Toronto, Canada. And it was just so cringe, but it was hilarious at the same time. 1.4 million views on that video. Wow. 1.4 million views. Now, if you go through the guy's Instagram channel, you'll see that he posts stuff like this. This is just one video that absolutely popped off. It's all parody. It's comedy. The guy was not serious. There's another guy, Matt Leonetti, another Canadian. He has been doing comedy type reels on Instagram for at least the last 4 years. I first found out about him in 2020. I interviewed him on a podcast that I had done. And this guy was doing some really great stuff back then. And he wound up just getting his start. He's now with a Broke Agent Media. They run a podcast over there. He speaks across North America. Great guy. So you could go like the way that I had described at the beginning. You could go the comedy route. What I would suggest is just stop posting your listings on your IG thinking that you're going to get all of this business and thinking that your clients want you to do that.
Exactly.
You've got to reframe.
I
Right.
agree. And I think that you absolutely nailed it. One of the things that I also recently I was sharing about this on our company wide meeting, that sometimes I think agents feel like there's a pressure to force virality, or, oh, I've got to do a TikTok dance or something. I don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. Be yourself. And I think that people want to know the authentic person who is using social media, but it's such a powerful modality that if you're harnessing it the right way, you're able to, I called it the ABCs of it, right? Know your audience is your A. B is to be yourself, and C is to be creative. And to have those things in mind is such an important aspect of that, because if you're trying to imitate certain people, but it doesn't come natural to you, that's just, it's not going to read well. It's not going to be received well. But at the same time, for people who are like, this went viral, this is what people are doing, don't be afraid to use it for inspiration too. I was talking to my dad the other day about the other take on R&D. People often think that is referring to research and development, but it's actually rip off and duplicate. Don't be afraid to use ideas that are, what's that?
Kelley's the king. He tells me to do that all the time.
all the time.
Absolutely, because if it's working, there's good reason for it. But all that to be said, so for somebody who's, okay, cool, I've got an idea, I should be consistent in being on social media, but maybe they're like not sure about what they need as far as equipment or some of the things of that nature. Like, what would your advice be to some of them, like what they need to actually physically do some of the video or do some of the pictures and stuff like that?
Right. Okay. So number one, your phone. So I got my phone set up right here. I'm recording this whole thing. Obviously it's one-sided, right? So I'm capturing this content, and this is the whole idea of capturing is actually part of a 4C framework that I can get into in just a second. It's this framework, basically a quadrant of how to create viral type content. Part of it is capturing, like that's the first part of it. So I'm here looking at the camera with you, but I've got my phone over here recording this and capturing some of the content that I'm talking about to you guys. Not going to be able to hear what the questions are, which is totally fine. The second part is the mic, right? So I've got this mic right here that I'm using for the podcast, but I've also, what you don't see is I've got a lapel mic that's attached to the mic on the back side. So I've got this mic, and the mic is attached to my phone. So I've got really good audio for the video that's being captured on my phone. So two things: you need a mic, you need your phone. The third thing that you're going to need is some sort of editing software. If you don't know how to edit, then don't even start. Go to upwork.com, find yourself an editor. There's thousands and thousands of them on that platform. And I suggest Upwork rather than Fiverr, because I trust Upwork, right? People actually have to apply for a position with you. You create a job on Upwork, and then you post it, and then people apply. So the way that I found my VA was I posted the job. I did that on a Sunday night. I woke up on Monday morning. I don't recommend this. Woke up on Monday morning. I had 30 applications. I'm like, holy crap. Okay. So I shut the job down. I started going through like these applications, and I found 4 people that had actually looked at my Instagram profile, and they're like, hey, I can totally help you with this, that, and the other thing. And so I took a video that I had shot. It was a 4-minute video. And I said, I want you to edit just 2 minutes of this 4-minute video. I'm not looking to get any work done for free. Just edit 2 minutes of the 4-minute video. I didn't tell him anything else. I didn't say, go and look at my YouTube. I didn't say any of that stuff. One guy got back to me. He says, I don't do that. I'm like, okay, that's great, because you're $80 an hour. And I wasn't going to pay that anyway. So no problem. So then the other 3 guys were left. I had one guy that was 25, one guy that was 30, one guy that was 25, another guy that was $15 an hour. So they all, bless you, they all put the video together. They sent it over to me. And it just so happened that the guy that was the least expensive was the guy that was the most in tune with what I was looking for. So he actually did the research without me telling him. He found my YouTube channel. He watched some of the videos that I had done, and then made some major improvements to what I was doing. And so he wound up getting the job. So him and I started working together. And yes, I have the ability to edit. I use something called CapCut. There's another program out there called Captions. Those two are phenomenal platforms. Captions you can do right off your phone. CapCut you can do right off your phone as well. I use the desktop version of CapCut whenever I want to edit. The last couple of videos I've edited myself because, again, I don't have a problem doing that. And typically I'll do that in the evenings anyways when I'm not, quote unquote, at work, because I like to do that kind of thing on my own. But if you don't have the chops for it, find somebody that will. You can go to Fiverr and you can spend $5 or $6 or $7 an hour, but you're probably not going to get the quality that you like. So that's number 3. Number 4 is learn how to use the platform. If somebody is telling you that hashtags are the way to build a following, that person has no idea what they're talking about. They just don't. Hashtags are not relevant anymore. They were like 6 months ago, but they're not relevant today. The platform actually, Instagram has started penalizing people that were hashtag stuffing, right? So they were just stuffing their descriptions with a bunch of hashtags, thinking that the algorithm was going to pick it up because people were actually searching by a hashtag, and boom, their video would get picked up. And that used to work. It doesn't work anymore. What works is making sure that your location is turned on for each video. What works is making sure that you've got keywords inside of the description. What works is posting at certain times during the day based on your audience and what's relevant to them. And then that's the other part of it, is the content. Is it content that's actually relevant to the audience? If I'm a real estate agent, I'm posting content onto Instagram, I'm not going to be posting about my kids. I'm not going to be posting okay, so I did a video on this just the other day. There's 4 key hires that if I were to start my business all over and I were to start from scratch, I would find 50 grand and I would go 100% into this one platform, into Instagram. This would be one key part of the business that I would build. But I would focus on one social media platform. I would invest $50,000. I would hire a videographer. I would hire a clipper. I would hire a copywriter, and I would hire an editor. Okay, so those would be my 4 key hires. And then I would go all in on capturing content in and around my community, and I'd be posting there 2 to 3 times a day. And I'd do that for a solid 6 to 12 months. And you'd be amazed at what is going to transpire with that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just so much else. It's about having that consistent output.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So just one crazy metric, like I've started posting on my channel about 60 days ago, really consistently. And I got rid of 1,300 followers on my account because I'd largely ignored the account for a long time. And so there was a lot of bots that had followed me. There was people that I hadn't interacted with, celebrities, athletes. Like there was just people that I were following and that were following me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of this dead weight. So I cut 1,300 followers. I went down to 1,000 followers. Over the last 60 days, I'm up to 1,279 followers on the account. So 280 people over the course of the last 60 days is almost 5 follows per day. And that's just by being super consistent on the platform and knowing that Reels is what actually builds my audience and my following, and that my stories and my posts are what actually engage with the audience.
Great stuff. There's so much to cover, and we can't cover it all today. But I wonder if we could take a complete jump to a kind of a yawner, in my opinion, which you've taught me differently, which is email. It feels like email is the bane of my existence, but you've taught me the power of utilizing email, 2 different kinds of emails. You talk about the 9-word email, but just emailing content, something compelling and different, and consistently. And I've been sending that. As a matter of fact, many of you who are watching this today followed a link embedded in an email that I put out every week. And I send this to a targeted audience, and I get comments. I get people settle down where I'm not really getting the unsubscribed anymore and really getting a core audience. And now I'm starting to add to that. But tell me your thoughts again, a little bit about the utilization of email as another way to connect.
I love email marketing. I've been doing it for so long. I've been a student of that medium for a long time. It's one of the ways that we built our brokerage and our brand in Calgary. I started sending out very softly. So this was probably black hat type strategy. We wound up downloading the list from a matrix platform or something of all the agents in our market area. We put them into an Infusionsoft, and it was part of that media machine, the marketing company or media company that we were creating. Email was just one of those that we were going to get really good with and be able to broadcast our message with. And so I started really focusing in on email marketing back in 2016, 2017. What I found was that people love story and they love consistency. And so if you're an agent, for example, and you're only sending out an email once a quarter or once every other month, or maybe even once a month, I'm telling you that's not enough. The bare minimum that you should be doing is 2 times per month. If I'm an agent starting my business over again today, I am utilizing a platform like Instagram to build my following, to build my audience, to connect with people, to build my list. And then I'm utilizing email to broadcast even further messaging to them once a week. And so the email that I started putting together, so this whole ideology that we had was be their broker before you're their broker. Create more content for the end user than all of our other competition could possibly even keep up with. And so I started thinking from a coaching perspective, what are the things that I'm coaching my agents on? What type of questions do they have? What can I educate the agent community with this week? And so I started out with just 1 email a month, which then the next month grew to 2 emails. And the next month I started testing. I'm like, okay, open rates are okay, but let's see what happens when I throw a 3rd email in there. By the time I got to a level of consistency where I was sending an email a week, our open rates were anywhere between 47 and 77%. Like it was that big of a gap, that big of a stretch. And so I started to note a few things. I started to really take note of where I was placing links inside of the email. I started to take note of the subject lines, what was hitting, what wasn't. I started taking note of how long the emails were, and I could do that by placing links at certain intervals inside of the email. So if somebody were to click on an email, and this is something that I actually do whenever I get a marketing email, I'll purposely scroll to the bottom of the email and click the call to action at the bottom of the email. I don't know why I do that. I guess maybe to kind of mess with their analytics a little bit, but that's what I'll do. So I'll put a link down towards the call to action towards the bottom of the email to see if anybody is actually scrolling to the bottom just to actually read the rest of the content. And so email marketing has evolved over time. And where it's gotten to, I think at this point, is like what Tim Ferriss started doing probably a decade ago. He's got his 5 bullet Friday. I do a 4 bullet Friday because I like to say I'm not as good as Tim Ferriss. I'm pretty close. He's way better than me. He has 5, I get 4.
You would think he would do 4 since he's the 4-hour work week guy.
You'd think, yeah, exactly. If he did 4, I would have done 5. But so with my 4, I basically talk about what are the things that I'm pondering right now, what are some business development ideas, what I'm reading or listening to right now, and what I can't get out of my head. And I actually noticed Keith, you had forwarded me an email that Tristan Amata puts out on a consistent basis. He doesn't do 4 or 5. He's got 10 different things that he's going through. And so he goes and he sits down and he writes his content, and it's all of these different things, technology, it's all this kind of stuff. And so it's what kind of value can you offer to the end user? And I think from a realtor's perspective, the bare minimum should be 2 emails. The first email that you send out should be statistical in nature. So you should be talking a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace and only lead with 3 data points. That's it. Understand the vast majority of your audience is not transacting with you at this moment. And they're not going to need a full-blown synopsis, an economist's read on and take on what's happening with the market. All they want to know, is it up? Is it down? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Should I buy now? Should I sell now? Like, where are we at? 3 different distinct data points. And then the second email that I would be focused on sending out would be solely based in community. What's happening in the area? What's cool? What's something that I did that was cool? Making sure that there's some calls to action in there. You're cross-pollinating with some of your stuff. If you're posting on Instagram, making sure that you're pointing people back towards subscribing for your email list and vice versa. You're sending an email out, putting a link in there to follow you on your Instagram channel. So you're getting them from all sides, right? So bare to minimum 2. So you're sending out 24 emails in a year, focused on statistics, focused on community. And that should really be enough for most agents. For me, in building what I'm building and the value that I want to bring, I really love to write. I love to write those emails. Sometimes I forget. Like I have it in my calendar on Thursdays to sit down, reflect, go through the week, go, okay, this is what I'm doing. Some days I can't get to it. And so I get up early enough on Friday mornings anyways. And so I just pull open the laptop, clickety clack, and it's done. And I hit send, kind of like I did this morning. I got up this morning. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't get to that yesterday. So I cracked the laptop. Luckily, this is after, I don't know, 16 weeks of sending this email out now. These things are so firmly planted in my subconscious. I already know what I'm reading. I already know what I'm pondering. I already know what I can't get out of my head. And I already know what the business development ideas are. So the email now has become, it's just very easy to put together.
Skar.
And that's the key, is making it easy for yourself.
Yeah.
I have a question too, and I know you've touched on this before. Social media is absolutely an essential part of the equation. And I do think that no matter the age of the agent, I think the median age is like a 58-year-old woman. I could be wrong, but that's like the average agent demographic. So like by and large, that probably isn't going to come natural to the average agent. But at the same time, I think that no matter where somebody's at on the age spectrum or their familiarity or their comfort with that, they can either one, grab the bull by the horns, like you've talked about, take the action, put a consistent plan in place and do it. Or there are other options to outsource it too. But I bring all that up because with that one side of the coin, I think the other side of the coin that needs to be addressed, which is a hot topic, is AI. And AI being an essential part of making life easier for our industry, and also being something that honestly to me is like the next advent of how we're working, how we're living. As important as the internet age was and the boom of the .com era and everything like that, like this to me is, if not even bigger. So how would you say, like for an agent, how do they get ahead of the curve and not just put their energy in social media, but also keep their eyes open to ways that they could leverage AI too?
Yes, I remember years ago. So I started doing video blogs back in 2010. I was one of the first agents in my area, in my market area in Calgary, to actually embrace video. I think at one point there was like 5 or 6 of us. There's a couple of people now in the Calgary market that are like leading North America in terms of amazing content that they create. It's truly remarkable what they've been able to do. Back then, we were just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick. I would set up in my office every Sunday. I would shoot all of the content. Everything was off the top of my head. It was just questions that clients had asked over the course of the week. And so I'd set up my flip cam in my office. Didn't even have a tripod or anything. I had a stack of books on the desk. I'd set up the flip cam. And of course, I would have to talk a little bit louder because the mic on the flip cam wasn't all that great. And I was sitting like 10 feet away from it. So it was always like, hey, this is Kelley Skar. Welcome to the Calgary Real Estate Connection. Happy Tuesday. And then I would launch into my bit and go on for 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. Throwing spaghetti at the wall, probably not a great strategy today, right? Yes, you're getting a lot of questions from clients. Do other people have those questions? 100% they do. Is it content that will resonate with your audience? This is where AI becomes super relevant. If you're putting together a content strategy, regardless of whether it's for YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, I don't really care where you're putting together the content and posting it to, utilizing AI to help you do the research to find out what's actually hitting and what other people's audiences are watching is key. That is a key part here. So how do agents get ahead and leverage AI? First of all, you can't sit by and hope that AI is going to work for you at some point without putting in the work, without putting in the reps to actually learn how to utilize the tool, right? So the first step is to actually go and get an AI account. I have the paid ChatGPT account, and the paid side of things allows for a lot more flexibility. Like they have beta tests for new AIs that they put out all the time. As a paid member, you get access to that beta test right immediately. There's just so much more that can be done from the paid side of things. So don't just continue to use the free stuff, the freemium, right? So actually make an investment into it. So the first thing is go out and get the account. The second thing is actually learn how to use it. My opinion is you learn by doing, and you learn by doing what other people are doing. So go to YouTube. YouTube's an encyclopedia, man. That's the way that I look at these platforms. I look at Instagram and TikTok as the newspaper, and YouTube is the encyclopedia. right? I'm not overly handy. Like I was a tradesman for 10 years. I can build stuff. When I'm stuck, I go to YouTube, I do a search. I'm like, oh, that's how you do that. And I'll rewind it and I'll be like, oh, okay, I got to do this, do that, do this, do that. Whereas with my dad's 87, I'm like, I asked him this one time. I'm like, how the hell did you know how to rewire an electrical panel? He's like, I didn't know how to do it. I just figured it out. I'm like, what? You wouldn't get away with that kind of thing today, right? Back in the day, obviously. But if I wanted to rewire an electrical panel, I'd go to YouTube first.
Yeah.
Go to the encyclopedia.
Absolutely.
So go there and learn. You've got to learn how to leverage this tool. You're going to wind up getting left behind. A lot of people say, some prognosticators out there, they're like, oh, AI is going to replace everybody. It's going to replace the salesperson. It's going to replace the sales agent. It's going to replace the realtor. I'm like, no, I don't think that that's going to happen. There's too much humanity in the process of purchasing and selling a home for robots to ultimately take over this process. I just don't see that happening. What I do see happening, though, is agents that are leveraging AI will leave the other agents in the dust. So go out, get yourself an AI account, go and learn how to actually utilize the thing, and then do more with it than just writing your friggin' listing descriptions. There's so much more that you can do with it, right?
Yeah.
If we look at video, for example, there's a plugin. If you're a Chrome user, there's a plugin called harpa.ai. And so as a Chrome user, I can go over to YouTube and I can start doing research on content that I think my audience is going to want to watch. And so if I find a video that has on a channel that has a lower subscriber count, but the video views are like off the chart, I'm going to utilize harpa.ai to actually summarize that video for me. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that information, I'm going to go over to ChatGPT, I'm going to have ChatGPT write me a script. Now, there's a lot of other stuff in between that obviously we don't have time to get into, but it's as simple as that. You utilize one AI to trigger the other one to help write the script, and then you put that content onto a teleprompter app on your phone. You have yourself a good mic, you set your phone up and you start shooting. And then all you got to do is read the script off the teleprompter app. Right now, there's an art to that. I think if you watch a lot of my videos over on Instagram, even on YouTube as well, everything is scripted. It's all scripted, right? I script it because it makes the editing process so much easier.
Yeah.
There's also a way in which when you're reading the script, you don't just read the whole thing and then try to clip the video apart. You actually read it sentence by sentence. So it's like you read the sentence and then you pause and then you regroup and then you read the next sentence. And then you just keep doing that all the way through the video. So then when you get to the editing stage or you fire it over to your editor, there's no mistakes. Like you don't screw up. There's no ums, there's no ahs, there's nothing. It's boom. And it makes it really simple to clip all of that stuff together. The other part is when you're looking at putting together content, there's a framework that you need to follow. And the first thing is hook, the second is story, and the third is teach, right? So the hook, like Alex Hormozi is the king of hooks. There's an actual GPT in ChatGPT. If you search for it, I think it's called Hormozi hooks. It's something as simple as that, Hormozi hooks. So you install this on your ChatGPT, and then you go in there and you say, I need you to write 15 hooks from a real estate coach's perspective for real estate agents on marketing strategies. And boom, it'll give you 15 great hooks that you can utilize now as part of your content creation strategy. Then I take that and I go, okay, now I need you to get out of that GPT. I go into regular ChatGPT and I say, okay, here's the hook. I need you to write me a script. I'm giving you guys the playbook here. This is how I do everything, right? So here is the script. Now I go through the script and I go, okay, is there a story here? Is there a teachable moment here? If there isn't, then I need to make some revisions.
Yeah.
So the whole like span of time, because I know agents are looking at this and going, well, oh my God, how much time does he have in the day? Dude, this doesn't hardly take any time at all. Like we're talking about clickety clack on the computer. You're getting your hooks. You're going over, you're getting the script written for yourself. You're making sure that it fits. It's going to work. I put it into a Word document. I upload it into my teleprompter app. From ideation to execution to editing, maybe an hour per video.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour. You want to know how to leverage AI? That's one way. That's one marketing strategy to leverage AI. There's so much more out there that you can utilize it for.
It's great. Thank you. That's
Now, as an aside, Alex Hormozy, I just read it, said he's only really interested in businesses now with at least a 90% profit margin because 80% just isn't enough. I thought,
Right.
only if we're true real estate brokerages. But anyway, this has been great. I really appreciate your time, Kelley. I know that you're a busy man and up there in Kelowna, British Columbia.
Kelowna.
Kelowna.
Kelowna. Yeah. It's all good.
See, I screwed it up, but I
Yeah.
said it how it's spelled. But anyway,
That's right.
I appreciate you. Any closing thoughts that you want to give to us before we let you?
Yeah, I think there's 4 key areas that agents need to be focused on in 2025. And if they focus on these 4 key areas and they're consistent and they're reviewing and they're constantly looking to build, I think that 2025 is going to be a really successful year. And those 4 key areas are marketing, sales, systems, and technology, kind of what you alluded to at the beginning of the show. Marketing is a big part of client acquisition. Your sales strategy, you have to know your scripts, you have to practice, you have to sharpen that iron. Your systems, this is being a systemized agent is what's going to help you do more transactions. And then knowing and understanding which technology to help you leverage all of that stuff, that's the complete package, right? So focus on those 4 areas and man, I'll tell you, things will be completely different for you in 2025.
Awesome. Let's thrive at 25, baby.
Let's go.
Kelley, thank you so much for your time. I'll make sure to include the information about where agents can find you in the description.
Awesome.
And yeah, for anybody who wants to learn more about ways to take that next step and make next year great, make sure that you tune in next time. And thank you again for watching Liftoff.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.